Hey there, folks, and welcome out to the Single Player Podcast. I'm your one and only host, I'm 16-Bit, and I got a good show for this week because we're going to be talking about Eidos retains their IPs, Ubisoft hints at new games, and the Nintendo Direct, plus more. So sit back, relax, enjoy the show, and I'll be with you in a bit. Alright folks, we're back, and now it's time to start the show with my favorite segment, your favorite segment, everyone in the world's favorite segment. It's time for the Gaming Forecast. So let's see what's coming out between the week of September 18th to the 24th. Okay, on September 19th, you have two games coming out, Return to Monkey Island for Windows and Nintendo Switch, and There Is No Light for Windows. Then on the 20th, you have 6 games coming out, Amnesia Memories and Later X Crowd making their Western debuts on the Nintendo Switch, Construction Simulator for Windows, PlayStation 4, 5, Xbox One, and Series X, Hard Space Shipbreaker for PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X, Jack Move for Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One, and Solstice for Windows, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X. Then on the 21st, you have 2 games, Gundam Evolution for Windows and The Outbound Ghost, also for Windows. And then on the 22nd, you have a whopping 12 games coming out. Beacon Pines for Windows, Nintendo Switch, and Xbox One, Bullet Soul Double Pack, releasing exclusively in Japan on Nintendo Switch, The Dio Field Chronicles for Windows, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, 5, Xbox One, and Series X, Jiuzengi and Gegetsu Sangokuden, I hope I'm pronouncing that correct, 1 and 2 releasing exclusively in Japan on Nintendo Switch, My Teen Romance Comedy Snafu Game Collection, releasing exclusively in Japan on Nintendo Switch, No Place for Bravery for Windows and Nintendo Switch, One Shot World Machine Edition for Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One, Pia 4 Epicedo 1926, making its Western debut on Nintendo Switch, Potion Permit for Windows, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, 5, Xbox One, and Series X, Serial Cleaners for Windows, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, 5, Xbox One, and Series X, Session Skate Sim for Windows, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, and Series X, and Valis the Phantasm Soldier Collection 2, releasing exclusively in Japan on Nintendo Switch. And then on the 23rd, you have 3 games coming out, DreamWorks Dragons Legends of the Nine Realms for Windows, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, 5, Xbox One, and Series X, and Stadia, Shovel Knight Dig for Windows, Nintendo Switch, and iOS, and Taiko no Tatsujin Rhythm Festival for Nintendo Switch. And that was your gaming forecast. Quite a lot of stuff coming out. There's nothing really here that catches my fancy, but if there is one that does for you, then please let me know down below. Also, remember that these dates are subject to change. It happens all the time. Either games get pushed back or new games get added in between recording this episode and when it comes up. So keep that in mind. Also, if you like any of the music that I'll be playing in this week's episode, links are in the description. In fact, I should bring this up because this is another thing that I completely forgot. But a couple of years ago, when I first started uploading this to YouTube, since most of the music is kind of on YouTube already, I decided to just put them on a massive playlist called Single Player Radio. So if you like any of the music, you want to listen to it whenever you want, you can go and do it that way. I'll leave a link in the description. And with that being said, let's move on to our first topic. Alright, and for our first story, we gotta talk about Eidos and Crystal Dynamics. Now, I've talked about them in the past, primarily with their acquisition by the Embracer Group. And there's been a lot of questions about what their future will be, as well as some of the IPs that they've developed for. You know, Tomb Raider, Thief, Deus Ex, so on and so forth. And so people have been questioning whether or not that those IPs will stay with Square, or whether they will go with Eidos and Crystal Dynamics to Embracer Group. Well, we have our answer, because both Eidos and Crystal Dynamics have put out updates regarding these franchises. It started with Eidos Montreal, who put out a statement called an update to our Terms of Service and Privacy Notice. And they put out this little statement. I thought this was very interesting. They said, and I quote, "As we've left Square Enix Limited and joined the Embracer Group, we are starting an exciting new chapter in Eidos Montreal's history. While it's not quite as exciting, it also means we have to let you know that we've updated our Terms of Service and Privacy Notice. To put things simply, the big change is that Eidos Montreal, or its affiliates, is now the owner of the games it's developed, like Deus Ex and Thief games, and the controller of the data obtained from the various gameplay metrics tracked in its titles. If you'd like to know more, blah, 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 blah." So, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. In case you were wondering whether or not Square would actually hold on to their IPs, you have your answer. They won't. They're going with Eidos and Crystal Dynamics to Embracer Group. Fuck yes. And then Crystal Dynamics also put out a statement on their news and community of their website. They said, "Crystal Dynamics takes control of its most beloved games. We are excited to inform you that Crystal Dynamics has taken control of several game franchises, including Tomb Raider and Legacy of Kain from the game's previous owner, Square Enix Limited. As a result of this change, Crystal Dynamics, or its affiliates, is now the owner of these games and controller of the game." Okay, so basically the exact same thing as before. "We look forward to taking this new and exciting journey with you." Ladies and gentlemen, I am excited just beyond belief. Like, just holy shit, fuck yes. Let me tell you something, okay? A lot of the issues that Eidos and Crystal Dynamics have had over the past several years is primarily the result of Square Enix. All right, they've been basically dictating what Crystal Dynamics and Eidos could make. They've been limiting their IPs and such, and so because of that, there's a lot of IPs that we haven't seen in years. Okay, Legacy of Kain being one of them. The fact that they list Legacy of Kain, to me, is a good sign. Alright? We haven't had a new Legacy of Kain game in what? Like 19 years? I think like the last game was like 2003. I could be wrong. Hold on, they say. Yep, I was right. Defiance came out in 2003. So, it's been 19 years since we had a new one. And if they're listing Legacy of Kain, that to me is a good sign. Obviously, yeah, they're going to continue doing Tomb Raider, because Tomb Raider is still very much popular. I also like how Eidos didn't just mention Deus Ex, which I'm glad to see them, mentioning, but also Thief. My hope is that now that Enix is like out of the picture, we'll actually get another good Thief game. Thief 4 was an absolute pile of shit. Okay, the first 3 are fantastic games. If you've never played them, highly recommend you go check them out. You can go in and buy them on various platforms. I know Steam and GOG have them. Okay. Thief 4 was horrible. It was dog shit. I don't know. I feel like a lot of it, that had to do with Square Enix basically sticking their nose in and dictating to Eidos how to make their game. So, I'm excited about this. I'm like, fuck yeah, bring back some of these IPs. And now that you have Enix no longer in the picture, they can actually be good again. There's another IP, they didn't list it, and I'm sure they still own it, but I would love to see a return, and that is, of course, Gex. We haven't had a Gex game since 1999. So yeah, it's been a very long time, and I think we are long overdue for a brand new Gex game. I remember, actually, there was supposed to be a fourth one on the PS2, but it was canceled really early in development. Like, only a couple of concept art was actually made, and, like, that was it. And then there was the recent, I think it was the leaked one, which was Gex Jr. And that was supposed to be another PlayStation 1 game, and that was canceled. So, there's a lot of stuff that I think I would love to see Crystal Dynamics and Eidos would bring back. So props to them for retaining their own IPs. I definitely look forward to seeing what they're going to make in the future. And with that being said, let's move on to our next topic. Alright, and for our next story, this one's a bit spicy. It's not as bad as some of the other topics I've talked about, but this one, I just thought it was incredibly stupid. So, I'm sure you guys all know about the game Multiverse. It's from Warner Brothers. Basically, it's Smash Brothers with characters from like every IP that they own. I haven't played it. I have no interest in it, but I heard about this, and honestly, it's probably the dumbest thing I'd ever heard of. So, in the game, one of the characters, of course, is Velma, and one of her finishing moves is finding out that the opposing character is actually a villain in disguise. She calls the police, they come in, and they take them away. Well, it appears that recently Warner Brothers decided to update the game, so instead of the police, it's the mystery machine. Why is that? Because apparently people got offended by this. Yes, people got offended by the fact that Velma finds a criminal and calls the police on them, calling her a Karen and going on and on. Folks, let me tell you something. If you're offended by police in a game, then you might be just a terminally online retard. Okay, that's it. Like, seriously, who gives a fuck? It's a fucking police cop. It's like one police car in the entire game, and you have people basically getting offended by it. Like, oh my god, this is supporting the police. No, dipshit. That's just fucking stupid. What it is you have these terminally online retards who have nothing to do with their lives. They're neats. Okay, let's be honest here. These people are fucking neats. All right? They got nothing better to do with their lives. They have no great movement for them to fight for. Because that's really what it comes down to, okay? Let me be quite frank with you. My entire generation does not have some sort of great movement or thing to fight for or against. All right? Us millennials, we got nothing. In fact, we're kind of spoiled because we basically have everything handed to us, okay? We can whine and bitch and moan about how, oh, we're so downtrodden and all that shit. But the reality is, we are far more comfortable and have more rights than most of our ancestors ever did, okay? So we got nothing better to do. So what do? We get offended by the tiniest, most retarded shit on the internet, okay? It's stupid. It's so fucking stupid. I've seen people basically freak out over the fact that in Spider-Man, the PlayStation game, that there's police in there, and they're not villainized. You know, they're not demonized in the game. It's like, who cares? Who gives a shit? My God, do something with your life. Fuck's sake. It just kind of frustrates me, you know? Because it's like, you can complain about anything in gaming, all right? You can complain about stuff that is, in my opinion, stuff like microtransactions, loot boxes, a lot of stuff that is parasitic, that basically, almost basically makes you dependent on them, all right? Almost like a drug. And yet, all anyone wants to bitch about is one fucking cop car in a game. Alright? It's so ridiculous. It shows exactly what one of the problems in gaming is. The fact that we're not focused on the right things. Alright? We're focused on these tiny little things that might offend people. Or we get offended on behalf of other people. Because we think that we're doing a good job. Or we want everyone to know how much of a good person we are. That's it. That's all it is. Fuck's sake, people. Get a life. Anyway, I'm going to take a short break, and we'll be right back after this.
What makes you sweat? Is it passion? Or could it just be heat? What about not knowing if your very next breath will be your last? What about all three? adventure from Eidos Interactive.
Alright folks, and we're back, and first up in our next round of stories, we have two major events to cover. First one, of course, is coming from Ubisoft, because they had their own version of a Nintendo Direct called Ubisoft Forward. I don't know, I can't stand the name. I think it's kind of stupid. They should have just called it something else. But anyway, first off, they announced more information about Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope. And a lot of it was mostly just gameplay footage and such, and kind of explaining it a little bit more. But what caught everyone's attention is they announced that that a brand new DLC adventure with Rayman will be coming to the game. That's right, Rayman's coming back, sort of. It's actually kind of sad how, like, Rabbids basically overtook Rayman. Like, they were basically, like, it was supposed to be like a side franchise. And now it's basically taken over the entire series. It's like, man, it's kind of just sad to watch, you know? Especially since, like, when was the last time we actually had a brand new Rayman game? It was like 9 years ago, right? It was like for, yeah, it was 9 years ago. It was the one that was supposed to be a Wii U exclusive, and then Ubisoft delayed it and put it back to, like, the end of the year, and put it on the PS3 and the 360 alongside the Wii U. So, yeah, what was that? It wasn't Legends. Was it Rayman Legends? I can't remember. It was like the second 2D sort of Rayman game. But anyway, next up, they also gave us more information about Skull and Bones, which looks very interesting. I'm not really sure if I want to play it, but it looks all right. And of course, that's coming out on November 8th later this year. Next up, they also had an update for Riders Republic, announcing that BMX will be added to the lineup, as well as an Area 51 locale, so alongside their Season 4. So, I don't know. I've never really heard of the game, so I don't really know much about it. This is kind of like the first time I've ever really, ever talked about it. So, anyway, we also had upcoming news about The Division 2, and apparently it's getting more content, as well as 2 spin-off games. So if you're interested in The Division, you've got something little there for you. Ubisoft also revealed that Rainbow Six Mobile will be getting a closed beta pretty soon. They're also partnering with Netflix to bring several mobile titles to their new service, one of which is a sequel to Valiant Hearts. Let's see. Also, Mythic Quest is getting a new season, which I don't really care about because it seems like a really shitty show. Trackmania is also getting a cloud and console version later in 2023. Just Dance 2023 edition will be arriving on November 22nd for Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 5, and Nintendo Switch. And, of course, there was a whole bunch of information about Assassin's Creed. For example, they officially revealed Assassin's Creed Mirage, which will be set in the Middle East in the 9th century and follow an assassin named Basim. And that will be coming out sometime in 2023. On top of that, they also announced the next DLC for Valhalla called The Last Chapter, and that'll be coming out sometime later this year. Also, they announced a whole bunch of other projects that are coming out pretty soon. One of them is a mobile game that will be coming out that's known as Codenamed Jade. There's also Codenamed Red, which will be set in feudal Japan. Something which I know fans have been asking for years. Like, I remember, like, back, 10 years ago, people were asking for them to set a Assassin's Creed game in Japan. So, I'm glad to see that they're actually following through with that. They also announced another one called Codename Hex. And going by the logo, it looks like it's going to be doing something with witchcraft. And I like to call it the Blair Assassins Project, because that's literally what the logo looks like. It looks like one of the Blair Witch dolls. So, with that being said, it seems that Ubisoft has a lot of stuff coming up. None of it really interests me. Maybe like Mario and Rabbids, but that's basically it. Everything else is just kind of eh. I don't know. Ubisoft, I don't think they've really put out anything interesting in a long time, or anything that's really caught my attention. So, anyway, let's move on to our next topic. Alright, and next up we have another sort of Nintendo Direct thing. This time coming from Disney, because of course they're doing their Disney D23 convention, which honestly I have no interest in whatsoever. But of course they had a Disney and Marvel games showcase, so let's talk about it, shall we? First and foremost, BitHell Games announced a brand new visual novel called Tron Identity. Yeah, a visual novel. Honestly, I have no interest in this. Doesn't seem all... Visual novels are one of those things where, honestly, I barely consider them games. Yeah, I cover them occasionally on the Gaming Forecast, but honestly, they're boring as fuck. I've never understood what people kind of saw in them that was so interesting. But, I don't know. Tron, I'm going to be quite frank. I think the first Tron movie is the only good one, and that's it. Tron 2.0 was all right. You remember the game from the early mid-2000s? Yeah, that one was pretty good. But what was the last one? Tron Legacy? That movie sucked ass. That movie was absolutely terrible. I saw that in the theaters. I was excited for it. And it was a massive, massive letdown. But anyway, moving on. They also announced a brand new co-op platformer called Disney Illusion Island, starring Mickey, Minnie, Donald, and Goofy. Which I'm assuming the name is sort of an allusion to Castle of Illusion and such. And again, it seems alright. It seems okay. It's in that very similar style as some of the more modern Mickey Mouse cartoons. They also announced Marvel's Midnight Suns, which is a game by Firaxis. And it seems to be like a strategy RPG. And apparently that'll be coming out on December 2nd. So if you're interested, there you go. There's also going to be a series of shorts based on it starting on October 31st. That's lead up to the launch. Also, they also announced that Marvel Strike Force will add Red Hulk to the game. Of course, Strike Force is their mobile turn-based role RPG. I've never even heard of it until now. Also, their card battle game called Marvel Snap will be launching on October 18th for PC and mobile. Next up, we have a brand new Aliens top-down shooter called Alien Dark Descent. In fact, I'm kind of getting some sort of tower defense vibes from it, because that's what it kind of looks like. It looks like they basically combined the two of them. I don't know, because like Alien games are kind of a hit or miss thing, so maybe maybe I'll check it out. I'm not entirely sure. Also, Avatar Frontiers of Pandora was also got a teaser, and that'll be coming to PC and, of course, next-gen consoles. Let's see, Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga is getting a Galactic Edition that will feature characters from Disney Plus lineup of Star Wars shows. So that includes The Mandalorian Season 1 and 2, The Bad Batch, Rogue One, classic characters, Solo, Star Wars Story, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Andor, Book of Boba Fett, you know, all that horrible shit apparently is getting into the Lego Star Wars. And you know what? I have the complete saga for the Xbox 360. I'm okay with that. I don't need any other more Lego Star Wars stuff. They also talked about Return to Monkey Island, which I'm looking forward to, and I completely forgot that Disney now owns the IP. God, I hate this. Anyway, also, Gargoyles, the classic Sega Genesis game, will be getting a remaster. Yes, awesome. Actually, really looking forward to that one. Let's see. They also announced some updates for Disney Mirrorverse with some more villain stuff later in October, as well as Disney Speedstorm, which will be getting Monster Inc.'s characters added to the roster when it launches. Furthermore, we have Toy Story coming to Disney Dreamlight Valley. Avatar is getting an MMORPG shooter called Avatar Reckoning. Also, Skydance announced a brand new upcoming game that involves Captain America and Black Panther. There's no title, but I don't know. Seems interesting. And then last but not least, Niantic announced a new Marvel game called Marvel World of Heroes. And it's basically, from what I'm seeing, it's essentially what we've seen with Pokemon Go and their Harry Potter game, just with Marvel characters. That's really it. Seems Niantic is just hell-bent on just re-releasing the same game, but with various skins. But anyway, with that being said, there's not a lot of stuff that really catches my attention, other than maybe Gargoyles and Monkey Island. But beyond that, there's really not a lot of interesting stuff. In fact, I noticed a lot of it seems to be mobile games, which you know aren't going to last very long. They're maybe going to be up for like maybe a year or two, and then eventually they're going to shut down. So really, it's not, to me, it's not something that interests me in the slightest. But if there's something there for you, then hey, at least enjoy that. But anyway, with that being said, let's move on to our next topic. All right, and for our last story, we've got an update on Call of Duty, because as I've talked about in the past, there's been sort of a battle between Microsoft and Sony over Call of Duty, primarily because of Microsoft's acquisition of Activision-Blizzard. And in fact, I talked about it when it came to the whole Brazil thing, that apparently Sony kept bringing that up and Microsoft was trying to downplay it as if it wasn't this important thing. Well, it appears that Microsoft actually has no problem keeping Call of Duty on PlayStation for a little longer, because recently The Verge got their hands on a letter from Phil Spencer to the head of PlayStation, Jim Ryan himself, saying basically that they're committed to keeping Call of Duty on PlayStation for a little bit longer. And recently The Verge, of course, asked them about it, and Phil Spencer said, and I quote, "In January, we provided a signed agreement to Sony to guarantee Call of Duty on PlayStation with feature and content parity for at least several more years beyond the current Sony contract, an offer that goes well beyond typical gaming industry agreements." All right, look, I'm not a Call of Duty fan. Like, honestly, I think the last Call of Duty I was actually interested in was Black Ops 2, and that was on the Wii U. But, you know what? I'm actually kind of glad that Microsoft isn't kind of being a little dick about this, that they're at least letting it continue on PlayStation for a little longer, because here's the thing. Call of Duty is a franchise that no matter what platform you play it on, everyone enjoys it. PC, Xbox, PlayStation, hell, even Nintendo, doesn't matter. Okay? Whatever platform it's on, everyone enjoys it. So I think keeping it instantly keeping it exclusive because you bought out the publisher, I think is a bit of a dickish move. You know what I'm saying? I have to give it to Microsoft, actually. They've been pretty good when it comes to keeping already existing agreements. Like, for example, with Deathloop, that was originally signed on to be a PlayStation exclusive, and even though they bought out the publisher with Bethesda, they still honored that agreement. So I have to hand it to them for doing that. Let's just hope that they don't, like, it's not limited. You know what I'm saying? Like, it shouldn't be up to a certain time and then suddenly, oh yeah, now it's exclusive to Xbox. At least keep it a multi-platform release, because it's always been a multi-platform release. People like it that way, and I think making it suddenly exclusive is not, in my opinion, I don't think it's actually good for the franchise. So anyway, I'm going to take a short break, and we'll be right back after this.
Call of Duty 2, rated T for teen.
Alright folks, and we're back, and first up on our last round of stories, in fact, our only last story, is coming straight from Nintendo because they just had a Direct. Now, originally, I had no idea what I was going to talk about because, really, I ran out of stories, and then Nintendo announced the other day, oh, by the way, we're having a Direct tomorrow, so I'm like, hell yeah! So, thank you, Nintendo, for kind of saving my ass there. Anyway, but first up, we have a lot of games and very little time to talk about, so I'm going to try to get through these as fast as humanly possible. Nintendo started off with a brand new Fire Emblem game called Fire Emblem Engage. And it actually seems really cool. I'm not a huge Fire Emblem fan. In fact, I completely skipped Three Houses, but I might check this one out. By the way, it's getting a special edition called the Divine Edition that will include a steelbook, art cards, an art book, and poster. Of course, I guarantee you no one will be able to get this thing because scalpers will basically have bought every single copy. But anyway, the game will be coming out on January 20th of 2023. Of course, expect a lot of games on this list to be coming out in 2023. Next, Nintendo showed off It Takes Two, which will be coming out on Nintendo Switch on November 4th later this year. There was also Fatal Frame Mask of the Lunar Eclipse, which will be available in early 2023. And here's the thing, when I first heard that name, I was like, wait a minute, that sounds familiar. And then I looked it up, and that's the one that came out on the Wii back in like 2008. And I remember a lot of people requesting it to be brought over to the US, but for whatever reason, they just never even bothered bringing it over here. So I'm glad that it's finally making its way to the West. Next, we had an update on Xenoblade Chronicles 3 with the Expansion Pass Volume 2 that will include challenge battles and a brand new hero named Ino, who is this mechanical girl. Apparently, when you get the DLC, she'll have missions for you, and once you've completed them, you'll be able to unlock her. They also announced Volumes 3 and 4, which will be available sometime either later this year or next year, so definitely be on the lookout for that. Let's see. Then there's SpongeBob SquarePants The Cosmic Shake, which is an entirely brand new SpongeBob platformer done by the same studio responsible for Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated, and that'll be coming out sometime in 2023. Then they showed off, oh god, this is just weird. Fitness Boxing Fist of the North Star. Yes, a fitness game based on Fist of the North Star. Basically, from what I've seen of the gameplay, it's kind of like if you mixed Wii Sports Boxing with that stepping exercise thing from Wii Fit. It's very similar. So now you too can punch people's heads off while burning off calories. Speaking of weird games, there was also this other weird one called Oddballers, which is basically a party game with a party mini game thing. And it is just flat out weird. I don't know how to describe it. But next up, they showed off Tunic, which might sound familiar to some of you because I've talked about it on the Gaming Forecast. It's pretty much an homage to the classic Zelda games, and that'll be coming out on the Switch on September 27th of this year. Next up, we also had our first look at the Front Mission 1 and 2 remakes, which is by Forever Entertainment. You know, they really like doing remakes. I mean, they did Panzer Dragoon, they also did House of the Dead, so this is like, what, how many remakes is that? Anyway, Front Mission first will be coming out later this November, with the second game coming out next year. They also announced that Front Mission 3 will be getting a remake as well. So, 3 games to look forward to. Wonder if they'll ever do Front Mission 4. Next up was Story of Seasons: A Wonderful Life, which is actually a remake of Harvest Moon: A Wonderful Life, which I actually own. I have the GameCube version. And that'll be coming out during summer of next year. Next up, Nintendo gave an update on Splatoon 3 on the very first Splatfest, which will be happening on September 23rd to the 25th. And the first ever theme will be, what would you bring to a deserted island? And you have 3 different teams to choose: gear, grub, and fun. So, and who knows, I might either be joining you or fighting you on the battlefield. So anyway, this next one caught my attention because it's none other than Octopath Traveler 2. That's right, we're getting a sequel. And just like the first game, it's going to be following 8 different characters, this time in an entirely brand new land. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. And that'll be coming out on February 24th of next year. Then they showed off Fae Farm, which is a fantasy farming simulator RPG. And that'll be coming out in spring of next year. Next up, we have Final Fantasy Theater Rhythm Final Bar Line, which will be coming out on February 26, 2023. Well, like I said before, there's a lot of games coming out next year. So anyway, they also went over Mario plus Rabbids Spark of Hope, which I already covered, so all I'm going to say is it's coming out October 20th. Then we had some Rune Factory news, because Rune Factory 3 is getting a remake for sometime next year. And on top of that, they also announced that the next entry in the series is in development. So if you're a fan of Rune Factory, you got some games to look forward to. Then Nintendo gave us an update on the Switch Online N64 games. For the rest of 2022, they got 3 games planned to come out: Pilot Wing 64, Mario Party, and Mario Party 2. And then in 2023, you've got Mario Party 3, Pokemon Stadium 2, 1080 Snowboarding, and Excitebike 64. But the big announcement, the one that I don't think anyone saw coming, was none other than motherfucking GoldenEye coming to the N64 Switch Online. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. For the first time in over 25 years, GoldenEye will be available outside of its original N64 release. And you know what? It's about fucking time. My God, it's about time. This is the sad reality of a lot of retro games, is a lot of them, unfortunately, kind of stay exclusive to the console they originally launched on. So, next up, we had a trailer for Various Daylife, which, of course, is currently available right now. Factorio is coming to Nintendo Switch on October 28th. Horror game Ib is coming to Switch in spring of next year. Mario Strikers Battle League is getting a second free update later this month. That'll include Pauline and Diddy Kong. Atelier Riser 3, Alchemist of the End and the Secret Key is coming February 24th, 2023. Then we got an update on Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass Wave 3, which includes only 2 levels so far, including Merry Mountain from Mario Kart Tour and Peach's Garden from Mario Kart DS. And that will be available sometime later this year. Nintendo Switch Sports is getting a free update this holiday that'll include golf, which should have been in the game in the first place, but I digress. Anyway, they then brought on Miyamoto to discuss Pikmin. Most specifically, he was talking about Pikmin Bloom, which is their mobile game, which is developed by Niantic, the same developers behind Pokemon Go, as well as officially announcing Pikmin 4, which, much like every other game on this list, will be coming out in 2023. Then we had a trailer for Just Dance 2023 edition, which is coming out November 22nd. And then another trailer for Harvestella, which is coming out on November 4th. Followed by another trailer for Bayonetta 3, which of course is coming October 28th. Then we have Master Detective Archives Rain Code, which is coming out spring of 2023, and it's by the same people who gave you Danganronpa, so be on the lookout for that one. Then we had some Resident Evil news, because apparently Resident Evil Village Cloud Edition is coming to the Switch on October 28th of this year, and apparently there's a free demo that is now currently available. Also, the Winter's Expansion DLC will be available for the Switch version on December 2nd. Capcom also revealed that Resident Evil 7 Biohazard Cloud, Resident Evil 2 Cloud, and 3 Cloud, the remakes at least, will be available later this year. Next up, Sifu is making its way to Nintendo Switch on November 8th. Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion Edition will also be coming to Switch on December 18th. And Radiant Silvergun is making its way to Nintendo Switch now, actually. You can go and currently get it, so I highly recommend you do, because it's actually a really good shmup. Next up, Endless Dungeon is coming to Nintendo Switch next year, as well as the GameCube classic Tales of Symphonia Remastered, which is coming out early next year. Anyway, and then Nintendo had a montage of upcoming games, including Life is Strange Arcadia Bay Collection, which is coming out September 27th, Romancing Saga Minstrel Song Remastered coming December 1st, Lego Brick Tales coming in the fall, Disney Speedstorm coming out later this year, Fall Guys Season 2 coming September 15th, and then we had the last two announcements. First off, you had Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, the Wii game is getting a remake, and actually looks really nice. So that's coming out February 24th. And then the last major announcement was none other than Zelda Breath of the Wild 2, which is now officially called The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. And let me tell you, it looks amazing. I can't wait to get my hands on this game, ladies and gentlemen. It just looks fantastic. And that'll be coming out on May 12th, 2023. And that was the Nintendo Direct. Let me tell you, it's a lot of games. And I've had to go back and re-record a lot of aspects of this. But let me say, it's good to see the Nintendo jam-packing these things with games rather than maybe showing 5 titles and that's it. Overall, I thought it was a pretty good showing. And there's some stuff that I don't really care for, but there's also a lot of stuff that actually caught my attention. So, anyway, with that being said, I'm going to take a short break, and we'll be right back after this.
Do you know how to use one of these?
GoldenEye. Load a rumble pack and see how it feels when 007 meets N64.
Alright folks, and that's it for this week. I want to thank you all for listening. Remember, if you liked any of the music that I played in this week's episode, you can find links in the description. Also, there is a playlist of all the music that I play from past episodes as well, and I'll put that in the description. And that's it. I'll see you all next week, and remember to keep gaming.